So IU and EVSC have had a partnership since 2015. It began with a 25-member principal leadership cohort. Of the graduates of that cohort, about 95% have been placed in school level and senior leadership positions in EVSC. It's really our flagship partnership at IU. It really reflects a working team that we have found unique and rewarding. And it's also really spoken to a district and a university partners that share values around what improvement and what leadership should look like.
So when you think about a partnership with a public school system and a university, you would think that that would be happening all over the place all of the time, but I think this is somewhat unique. So why wouldn't you see more of this?
It's particularly unique in the state of Indiana. There aren't many universities who are really coming at school corporations across the state and saying, how can we help? How can we be partners, thought partners, intellectual partners in your work and try and really support your efforts to improve? And that's really where IU entered the conversation with EVSC around the iLead initiative, which is a national initiative housed at the Carnegie Foundation out in Palo Alto. Carnegie selected 11 partnership sites around the United States. IU EVSC was one of them. And these sites are really showing considerable promise in implementing a partnership model that results in significant student achievement gains. Our work in that partnership is really focused on the introduction of improvement science, which is a set of principles and ideas that are drawn from business, healthcare, and manufacturing that look at the ways in which we can improve processes, particularly instructional processes at the classroom level. And so we have a team of 3 elementary schools here in EVSC, plus a design team consisting of senior leaders in the district that are working with us to design this initiative and roll it out. And then this parallels efforts that we're actually carrying out at IU in Bloomington. We're developing a graduate certificate in improvement science. We're really orienting our leadership preparation programs around these principles. And then we're also trying to embrace our role as being really the hub for improvement science in the state of Indiana.
So when you both think about your work you're doing actually here and with the 3 schools, talk to me about what this means for these 3 schools and how is this going to benefit them and ultimately their students?
Right. Yeah, just to back up a little bit, because I think one of the things that improvement science allows us in higher education to do is to ask the important question about how do we learn from you. Oftentimes education, higher ed in particular, is posed as, well, here, let us give you the research and then you figure it out. And what improvement science lets us do is to share our expertise around research and trends and policies that are affecting schools, but then also learn from schools in terms of how are these things really affecting you? And how do we improve our own practice as people who prepare leaders to create, future schools, future school communities that do the work that we're trying to engage in now.
So certainly it sounds like this is a relationship
Yes.
where we're both benefiting.
Absolutely. And so I think, when we visited our schools, our partners, we went there to sort of absorb their context, to get some language, some common language with them around the issues that are important to them, challenges that they're facing, and then to be able to that way then sort of curate our relationship, our content delivery, to their needs, which I think is also a bit unique in higher education. And so I think our hope is that by starting with these relationships that we're developing with our school principals, with the teams, really creating a space where everyone can enter and say, okay, let's learn this together. Let's improve this together with the common goal that we all have about, making the lives of kids better every day, a little better every day, and hopefully over the course of the time that they're here in EVSC to really make a difference in what they're able to do when they graduate.
And tell me about when you're having these sessions together, because as I've observed, you're not just sitting down with the 3 principals of the schools. They have a team of teachers with them. So how does that dynamic really help with the work that's being done?
Well, I think it's actually seminal to the work, which is and also a little different than what normally happens when universities and schools have partnerships. Usually, again, the higher education folks are talking to the leadership folks. And what we wanted to do here is shake that up a little bit, both in terms of learning has to happen at all levels, leadership can happen at all levels, and that in order for that to happen, there have to be cross conversations across roles. So isolating teachers from principals and isolating both of those from higher education creates sort of a vacuum where we're not really talking to each other about what matters in their schools. So I think having the teams come again, allows us to understand what's happening in the buildings from different perspectives, but then ultimately helps build capacity in that school so that, we can slowly pull back a little bit and can let the work continue whether or not we're here.
And I think it's important to understand that the improvement science model that we're using not only blends those process improvement principles that you find in business, healthcare, and manufacturing, but it also blends other ways that we collaborate in education that are very comfortable and familiar for classroom teachers. What we're trying to create with EVSC and between IU and EVSC is really an improvement network where schools within the district can learn from one another, where IU and EVSC can learn from one another, and then for our long-term vision, where other school corporations across the state can come together in partnership with us and begin learning around these ideas. Because our focus in this effort is not just to improve schools here in Evansville, but really to use what we're learning together with our district partners here in EVSC and share those learnings across the state. This is a model that can fit into a number of different contexts. And what's really important to understand is that this is an approach that is taking hold really across the United States.
That's very exciting. And let's think about Carnegie when that foundation selected IU and EVSC as a partnership. Obviously, that was quite an honor. So what do you think set this relationship apart from other entities that may have wanted to be a part of this?
So we had an opportunity this summer to actually have the Vice President of the Carnegie Foundation, Paul LeMahieu, join us for a conversation at the Indiana Department of Education with Superintendent McCormick. Dr. Smith, the superintendent of EVSC, joined us. Our dean, Lem Watson, joined us. And we really had an opportunity to disclose for the IDOE what it was that we were doing. And one of the things that Paul said in that conversation is that this is really an authentic relational partnership. It's a partnership where both individuals are coming together around this shared work of improvement, around embracing the question of how do we get better at getting better, and most importantly, how do we use what we're learning to improve practice across the system. Carnegie really saw this as being a partnership that was ripe given our success with the principal leadership cohort. We also have another initiative that we've created with EVSC, which is called the Pilot EDD. It's a partnership where EVSC administrators receive a 9-credit scholarship to pursue a dissertation in practice in our CPED-affiliated EDD program at IU. And this really creates an opportunity to bring some of these improvement science principles back into EVSC and really begin implementing them at a deep level. So Carnegie saw all of that. They recognized that the state of Indiana was one in which there were a number of challenges in our policy environment related to school improvement and accountability. And so they saw this as really being an opportunity where this work could speak to a broad state audience and could actually carry the message that was coherent and that's focused on getting results for students.
So it sounds like there's so much potential here, a lot of great things happening, and just potential for everyone to benefit, ultimately the students, as we move forward.
And it also fits the future direction of IU. One of the things that President McRobbie has called upon is the IU, Bloomington especially, reimagine what it means to be engaged in education. And we're really thinking about that very intentionally as faculty and as a school of education. And one of the things that I think are really projecting through this partnership and hopefully through this network of schools that are working around these principles is we are really committed to improving education in the state of Indiana, making education work for our kids, and to do that in tandem, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand with our colleagues in school districts.
Well, we're happy to be a part of it. Thank you both very much for talking with us today.
You bet.